Well, it's the day. Big day today, boys and girls. I'm looking forward to it. Why? Well, we've never had really an FOMC colliding with a war, especially one that the US wants to get involved in. I mean, last night there was the expectation that the US was going to step in, but Trump's been getting a little bit of scrutiny from his most loyal followers. Is it about make America great again? Or just, hold on, man, we're so used to intervening in foreign wars. Why not this one? I mean, we've had the luxury of being able to jump into the Ukraine-Russian war. Didn't bother with the Indian-Pakistan war. There's not really any resources for us to really dominate in. But Israel, Iran, I mean, look, let's just be honest here. What would you do if there was a nation that's got nuclear warheads that could be a bit trigger happy with existing beef that it's got with, not to be political in any way, shape or form, but you're going to put yourself first, aren't you? And that's pretty much Trump's logic. But tonight, FOMC, what are we going to get? Well, look, man, the word on the street is that we're going to get 2 rate cuts. But what I'm going to dive into in this live stream, because I am going to keep this one short and sweet. I'm not going to take no more questions about XRP. Bin that. Call your local council and tell them to come and pick up your ledger and put it in their bin if it's packed with XRP. Okay? You'll be doing yourself a service. Massive one. Anyways, the idea is that the dot plot, if you've heard about this, where it plots all of the federal board members' expectations of where they think that the interest rate should be, apparently it was 1 vote away from the difference between 1 rate cut and 2 rate cuts. That is wild. Now, what's going to happen? We don't know. We don't know how the market's going to react to all of it. We've just had the unemployment claims data coming in lower. All right, that's all right, isn't it? So less people are claiming benefit. That's good news. Housing starts lower. Okay, then maybe because, you know, we don't know where we are with tariffs. Contractors are like starting to ask the question, should we get involved in these companies overseas or not? Let's start putting money to work. Hold on a second. 4.5% on the interest rate. Yeah, money's a little bit expensive right now. Plus, you've got a really, really bad dollar. So what's the point in putting money to work? We actually need to wait and see what the Federal Reserve is going to do with the interest rates. In the meantime, Euro's sitting nicely with 2.14%. The yen down at less than 0.5% with no prospects of them increasing their interest rates. So yeah, that seems like it's all good over there. The UK coming down with their rates. You've got the Swiss franc. They're down. It's wonderful except for the dollar. And what we're going to be waiting for tonight, ladies and gentlemen, is a hawkish or a dovish stance from Jerome Powell. The purple tie is not going to dictate whether or not he's going to be hawkish or dovish. Ultimately, it's going to be the fact that they are going to explain to us tonight how the tariffs are going to impact their decisions. They're going to factor that into their projections. Because up until now, any FOMC that we've had, it's been, we don't know where we are with the tariffs. We've not really seen the impact of the tariffs. But they are actually going to reveal tonight what the story is with tariffs and how that's going to affect their decision as to whether or not we get the 2 rate cuts that the market is expecting, or maybe 1. So if you are new to this live stream, make sure you're subscribing, because tonight we will be going live at 6:30 UK time, which is 1:30 p.m. Eastern Standard. We'll be doing the pre-live before the federal funds rate, but I'm going to get into that very shortly. So make sure you do subscribe, hit the bell notification and all that stuff. Like the stream. It costs you nothing. Let's get with the program, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So they're having a day off right now, not worrying about the war, and they're now trying to just get excited about the federal funds rate. Going into it right now, you can see that the data came out showing 245,000, lower than the expectation that we had. The expectation was 246, and it was previously 248. So this up, down, we need this to be like 350,000. We really do. Because if it is 350,000 in any instance, the market's like, oh my God, like we've got really bad labor market. Okay, let's cut the rates. But we're not getting that information. Now, as you can see here, we've got the federal funds rate. economic projections, the statement. Now, the important thing is this. We know where we are with the funds rate. It's going to be 4.5%, right? Then the economic projections are going to tell us exactly where the federal board members believe that the markets, or should I say where the Fed's going to be looking for in the future of the US economy. And that is in reference to inflation, in regards to the labor market, just the overall economy, GDP. So they're going to factor all of that into these economic projections, which is where the dot plot comes into play. Now, let me explain. Here is the dot plot story. Where are we? So this is what Jerome Powell makes reference to, okay? It's the dot plot. So the FOMC participants policy path chart, right? Now, just to summarize it, this is an old one, but it was December 2024. Each dot represents where every member of the FOMC has a view on the interest rates, okay? And what you're looking for is you're looking for a cluster of dots where there is an agreement. So if you look here, you can see that you had several dots right here that all showed that there were board members that were actively in agreement that prices or interest rates should be below 4%. Okay, so that's a happy days reading right there, or at 4%, right? Down below here, you had one dude that wanted 3%, one guy wanted 3.5, a few more wanted just above 3.5, but the general consensus here was that wanted interest rates to be that amount. Now, if they do provide us the actual dot plot later on, which they will, does it mean that that is going to be the case? Not necessarily. It's just a gauge of where they are with things. So if they were all to say to them, please put your hand up in the FOMC and say, look, where do you think interest rates should be? 5 people put their hand up and say 4%. 2 people put up and say 3%. And then as that comes into play, when they have their discussions, that's when they come to the decision when Jerome Powell always say, we at the FOMC are committed. That right there is what this represents. It shows that they've taken a vote, and that's where they believe that the interest rates are going to end up. Now, expectations across the board are that September is going to be the rate cut time, okay? Going into, of course, July, we don't really have that expectation. Now, from now until September, so much can change. We've got CPI reading coming out for next month. What's that going to look like? Where are we with regards to the war? Well, here we are. Israel, Iran latest, Iran supreme leader warns of a US of irreparable damage if it joins war. You can't really be threatening the US, man. That is just provocation at its best, all right? Trump pretty much took the piss out of them saying, look, man, we gave you a deal. You didn't go forward with it. You made your bed, deal with it. Now, that is being said, it's going to wind people up. And this is what you're getting. And the problem is someone will say something, there will be a reaction. Even so, across the board, war on Iran is splitting Trump's MAGA movement. So these are the words of the Congressman Marjorie, can't even say that, Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is regarded as Donald Trump's most loyal follower, says anyone slobbering for the US to become fully involved in the Israel-Iran war is not America first, MAGA. We are sick and tired of foreign wars. All right? So that's not really a good story for Trump now if his followers are starting to not follow him regarding that. But come on, man. Listen, you've got a nation that is implying that it's a threat. Okay, does it justify the bombings? No, it doesn't. People are getting killed. That's the crap thing about it. But whatever agenda is being played behind this whole story, I mean, is it resources? Look, America really needs to focus on rare earth metals, not oil. Okay, rare earth. But it's kind of got control over that in regards to the tariffs with China. Okay. Speaking of which, let's get into the program and understand where we are with price action across the board. Let's start off with the euro. Euro consolidating sideways. And you know what? You will get this all the time when it comes to FOMC. Nothing really happens in the markets. I mean, the Nasdaq's not really doing anything. It's just bouncing up and down. But fundamentally, the euro is holding out, and the euro will move aggressively because tonight will reveal whether or not investors should continue to be going into euro. That means borrowing euro, taking that money, putting it to work in the European stock market, picking up European bonds, locking in some yields, which naturally has an impact on what? On the dollar. So we may be going back into the idea that euro goes up, the dollar goes down, the stock market goes down, US bonds go down, gold goes up, yen goes up, because investors would have transitioned over to these asset classes because the money for the US is too expensive. And the projections of where they think everything's going to be in regards to tariffs is going to have an impact on investors investing in stock market assets such as Nvidia, which an article came out not long ago, just about a few hours ago, saying that there is calls from Barclays. Wait a second. Where is it? Where is it? I saw it earlier on. Or Bank of America, I think it is. Wait there. Where is my Bank of America? Anyway, I think it's Bank of America or Barclays. They turned around and said that Nvidia is going to turn into a $5 trillion company and it's just going to absolutely wipe the floor. Yeah, we expect that. We expect it to become a $5 trillion company. That's going to be nearly, right, it will be adding around $1.5 trillion more market cap when it achieves that. I'm looking for $6 trillion market cap for a stock, man. For a stock, one single stock, all right, has got more market cap than cryptocurrency. And there's way more people holding cryptocurrency than there is investors holding Nvidia, in my opinion. You know? Bitcoin will have its day. Speaking of which. All right. I'm going to ask you guys, right? Up or down? Come on. Give me your flavor. Give me your flavor. Where are we? Where's the wife? She's not here. It's starting to wind me up, that is. Really wind me up. Come on, up or down? What are we saying? Up. There it is. There's that comment. Yes, they want gas coast of Gaza. Okay, then. Well, look, if you stop putting sanctions on Russia, you might be able to tap into the Black Sea. Never mind. Up, up. Here we go. The maxis are here. Wait a second. Down. We got downs. My favorite, up and down. Nice. To the left. I said to the left. Okay, then. All right. So it looks like you guys have a shoe bag. Very good. Shoe bag. I'm cool with that. All right, then. So in my opinion, ladies and gentlemen, right, the concerning thing that I've got is Bitcoin has not moved. I mean, back when the FOMC anticipation was a good thing, like it was really nice. Price would come down, then FOMC, it'd come back up. Now we've got Bitcoin just stalling. And as we go into higher time frames, we're not really seeing commitment coming through just yet. Going into the book, you can see over here that we've got an even distribution of offers and bids. Now, usually around this time, investors then come to the decision where they're like, you know what? I'm going to get rid of this exposure, or I'm going to add to this exposure that I've got, which is why you see prices going up, you see them going down, and there's no real direction. What's going on right now is there is a lot of hedging happening, okay? Lots of hedging. Now, let me explain. There are a number of ways you can hedge, okay? You can hedge by trading the same asset, but taking part in different approaches to it. So you might be short in futures and you might be long on spot, okay? So that's one way of doing it. They call that gamma negative, and that's when you start dealing with the idea of delta neutral and all that market making stuff, okay? But then you've got the other aspect to it where they're consolidating and putting their money into oil to protect their portfolios, because there are companies, investors that can't just pull all the liquidity from their portfolios. No, they have to go somewhere else to protect themselves and diversify any exposure. So during times of war, what do you have? Defense-based stocks, they're always going up during times of war, okay? So if you do have that in your portfolio, happy days. You should be seeing some wins now if US steps in with this war. And regardless of whether the US is in there or not, all these companies will benefit from the back of a war. Naturally, oil's price is going to go up, so there's a lot of movement into oil right now. Speaking of which, going over into oil, let's just quickly have a look. Oil right now is effectively going to be the hedge for me, okay? Everyone's going into oil. And when we look at oil on the higher time frames, you can see we've got this nice trend. It's moving up, but this is because of tensions overseas. Now, they are saying that based on the rate that they're going at, it's going to last for another 2 weeks or so, all right? But then word on the street is saying that there's still 1,800 ballistic missiles that Iran has, and also it's not using its best equipment. So right now, they're just using missiles that are worth around $200,000. So that's cheap as chips for a missile that is destined to just burn. It's not going to do anything but just disappear, all right? So 200 racks, done. But they're not using their best kit. So then that just tells you, hold on a second, what's going on? How long is that going to last for? Even though their bases are depleted and they are suffering, word is that they're all good and they've still got more power to push. So this is probably why Trump wants to step in and just try and eliminate that story. But the impact it's going to have is oil's price is going to rise. And as long as oil's price rises, then people that are in defense-based stocks are going to see the benefit because there's a war. People that have been picking up oil are going to see the benefit because it's offsetting any risk that they've got in the tech market, in utilities, or whatever sector that you are invested in. Oil or commodities will always help your portfolio hedge itself against any events that are deemed uncertain and investors are concerned about, okay? So we've only just started this war, all right? And ironically enough, when we had the Russian-Ukraine war, that was projected to not last too long. And it did. Now we're in a story where Trump's been saying that war would never start. That war would never start. If I was here, that would never happen. Now he's getting involved in one. It's one of those ones. Volatility index currently moving up, still at 2141. That's what I mean about the hedging. If the VIX is going up, it implies that investors have the expectation that things are going to get a little bit tricky for them, so they're hedging. Future volatility implies, yeah, maybe things are going to come down, okay? But when this shoots up, because it's been complacent, we've been complacent for a little while now with all these tariffs and all that story. It's been complacent inside of this, all right? And when it's complacent, that's when the market then turns around and says, well, whatever these guys are saying over here doesn't matter, you know? We'll just do our own thing, which is where the old saying is coined, don't fight the Fed. Really can't fight the Fed. Not now that these rates are the way they are, okay? Now, going into other assets, NASDAQ, let's have a look at where she is. I mean, the NASDAQ, it's not really doing anything. Like, it's just climbing, not slow bleed, but it's just climbing out of its grave as such. Going over into the orders, or should I say the volume, we've got 3 distribution days on the NASDAQ. 2 seconds, here we go. So you've got 3 distribution days on the NASDAQ, and you've got 6 on the S&P. Now, the problem that we've got with that is there are more stocks on the S&P that have more volume, more market cap, as opposed to the NASDAQ, because the NASDAQ in principle is light compared to the S&P. So when you've got more selling happening on the S&P, it means that there's a lot of blue chip companies, the big boys, the big market caps, the old, the homegrown stocks, your Apples and all the, Pfizer and Johnson & Johnson, all the big companies, it looks like they're offloading their positions. You really would expect NASDAQ to have 6 because it's just fluctuating all the time. It's when the yields are up, get rid of your stock. Yields are down, buy your stock. So that fluctuates. But when you've got the S&P building its distribution days ahead of the NASDAQ, one way or another, the NASDAQ is going to catch up, okay? Now, when we go into the volume, you can see that yesterday's price action itself did show that volume came in below average, but it was a negative trading day, okay? But we've not really seen that much pressure on the NASDAQ, which is a good sign. Maybe tech is going to lead the market. Maybe AI is going to sustain the market. But if tensions, of course, get worse, then naturally NASDAQ is going to react just as aggressively, and maybe the S&P could be on the route for it. I'm looking for the NASDAQ and S&P to clear the all-time highs. I'd like to see them do that. Could today be the case? If the Fed turns around and says, yeah, we're going to cut your rates, cool. Then we get our rate cuts and then we see price pumping up. Awesome. Then you get your climatic move and then September comes, done. You get a correction. Speaking of correction, Arthur's at it again. He says that he's sounding the alarm on this emerging stablecoin mania, and he warns that it's going to be like the Terra Luna story. I mean, I don't think that's going to be the case. Going into it, it says here that Circle's successful initial public offering may have ignited the next major bubble in the crypto market. I mean, it says here, the bubble will pop after the launch of a stablecoin issuer on a public market, all right? Most likely in the US, that separates fools from tens of billions of capital by using a combination of financial engineering, leverage, and amazing showmanship. He clearly doesn't like the idea of it. Come on, man. Like, an initial public offering is a big thing. Like, you've got to go through so much as a company to get access to investor funding, because that's what you're doing. You're just advertising, hey, come and invest with me. Give me your money. I'll give you a share, and I'm going to put it to work. Well, we know people ain't got a problem with that, because look at Michael Saylor. He's dishing out his dead company, dead stock. Let's just have a look at where we are with that. Let's have a look at MicroStrategy. Who owns MicroStrategy? Please forgive me if I'm cussing about it, but it is financially a dead company. Stock-wise, fundamentally, it's just a terrible stock. I'm just going to pull it up right now. Like, it's one of those ones, but you would never invest in this company on the back of its fundamentals. You would only invest in it on the idea of it being holding Bitcoin. That is wild. Wild. You know, I would love to know what Warren Buffett would say about this company, you know, because the weird thing is the company is achieving naturally what investors would want to achieve holding the stock. Do we get that? It's achieving what investors expect from holding a stock. The problem is it's Bitcoin. It's got nothing to do with the stock itself. The stock is a bond for you to say, all right, you got Bitcoin, here you go get some more. Please do. Because our share price should be following Bitcoin's price. It's packed with Wall Street, ladies and gentlemen. 1,342 funds are playing it. And if they don't like, I mean, management holds 1% of the stock. Banks hold 1% of the stock. Funds hold 30% of it. So fund owners are the ones that are fueling this story of Bitcoin, because fund owners are really representing clients. So, I mean, if management only holds 1%, I mean, shocking. So dead. Anyways, let's go into it all. So the Arkham still at the all-time high right there. We've seen some movement right now with ARK Invest. They haven't really been doing too much. Let me just refresh this just in case we have any adjustments on that. Have you liked the stream yet? No, you haven't. 269 of you, 1,545 of you. Come on, man. It's cheap as chips. What's going on here? Come on. Whilst that's happening, okay, here we go. Yep, 670. Nothing's happening. Nothing's happening on the actual block itself. Well, I'm breaking out in a sweat, brother. It is hot in the UK. I'm not going to lie. Anyway, liquidations. Let's have a look at what's going on over there. So we have got we've got a cluster of a cluster of long liquidation. Oh shit. A cluster of long liquidations in this range, guys. And it's high margin and low leverage in principle. These guys right here, this is the tuppence. These are the short, the small margins, high leverage. That's why it's so close to price when they're purchasing. Okay. So, I mean, if you look at these guys right here, they're buying here, they're getting liquidated here, they're buying here, and then they're getting liquidated here, and it's just an absolute dog show. I mean, look at this guy, you know, genius. Go long up there, bro. That's what you do, because that shows strength, doesn't it? When price is rising, it shows strength. And that guy right there was like, yeah, it's got the strength, but he thought, let me wait until it just pumps so much, or he just came to it late. I mean, this guy right here is doing well, but if he got liquidated, he's a dunce. So, yeah, that's where we are right now. We've got a few short liquidations. High margins are relatively close towards the 108 region itself, but nothing to be too concerned about. Quickly go back into Bitcoin, see where she's at right now. Not she, but yeah, it's starting to roll over. Let me just have a look at where we are with NASDAQ for a split second on this. All right, and so we've got, I mean, look, this is something that it pays so much towards your mental capital when you come to the charts and you see this, right? This is exo charts, right? And I use the hybrid system and exo charts. The reason I use exo charts is because I want to see the initial balance. I like the volume profile, and it's got the highlights right here. I don't want it all on one chart. And at the same time, I have the depth of market as well. When I play options, this is what I'm looking at, okay? When it's options plays, this is what I look at. I look at this green line, which is a VWAP, right? And I correlate it to the initial balance and the VWAP itself. So if price comes into the initial balance, as you see here, and it manages to get back into the VWAP, and both the VWAP and the initial balance are close together, we've got rotation. Just eliminate the initial balance for a second. If price is just moving up and down around the VWAP, that's rotation. Nothing's happening. It's only when it moves away from it where I pay attention to it. So if I don't see movement away from this, why am I going to force a trade? Oh, yeah, but Tina, what if it breaks out this range right here and makes a move to the upside? Okay, cool. Do that then. So when price breaks out away from that range, I'm going to expect it to come back into it, thinking that it's going to try and eat that VWAP right there. But if the VWAP traders are looking to sell, that means they're going to be selling above the VWAP. Price is going to continue to go higher. I'll get in on the second attempt back up to the high that was made when it moved away from the VWAP. You know? Likewise, when it comes down. When it comes down, I'll wait for it to retrace into it. Where's the proof? If the proof is there, okay, it should be trading away from it because it seems like they're in a bit of a buying spree and selling. Don't get it twisted, guys. Don't think that one direction implies that it's all going to go in that direction because of the VWAP. Remember, VWAP works like this, okay? If you're an investor, I've said this before, if you're an investor and you've got $10 million of stock, okay? And you go to your broker and you say to him, please sell my stock, get rid of it. It's going down. Is he going to be happy when prices are being sold here? Or is he going to be happier when prices are being sold here? He's going to be happier when prices are sold there. So your average sell entry is at least in line with what you can get from the market. So when prices drop below the VWAP, fundamentally it looks like they're selling. Well, they're buying at the same time. And then they're selling into the VWAP because that's where most of the volume is being created. All right. So they build the contracts, they buy, and then when it's coming back up again, they'll sell it. Participants who buy on the drop, there are also participants that will be selling on the rise. And there are many, many eyes watching this thing. And then, of course, you'll end up seeing price comes away from the VWAP, goes back into it. And then, of course, you've got this story right here where your investor will be like, I'm happy that you've been selling at these points right here. But he'd be pretty cheesed off if you were selling here, here, and here. Why the hell would you sell at the lowest price? Yeah? I hope that makes sense, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, any questions? Bitcoin's taking a shoe back to the downside. I use IG index, man. I use IG index. Any questions, guys? Because I'm going to end the live in 1 minute's time. How can I manually mark if initial balance in trading view, bro? There is indicators that show you the initial balance. Just search trading in trading indicators, just initial balance, and it will give it to you. What are you thinking if the Great War begins, USD and USA versus Iran? Should I buy later or should I sell now before it hit? Look, all of you pay attention to the VIX. The VIX is getting used, okay? It's getting they're using it to hedge themselves. All right, you can see I've got various contracts here. Okay, so I've got short VIX short-term futures, and then you got trust shares, ultra VIX short-term futures. I pay attention to these because it tells me whether or not they are favoring to go into risk or not, where they're trying to hedge themselves. Okay, so I pay attention to these because it tells me if investors are like, I need to protect myself. What's going on? Nasdaq's making a move. Hold on. Nasdaq is making a bit of a move right now. It's coming down 21.8981. Doesn't seem like it's doing too well right now. Hold on a sec. Market has opened. What are they pricing in right now? The mood data is coming. 87 million buy side. Okay, then. So buy side on the move is 157. Sell side 70. Yeah, Mag 7 not really doing too much. Not really doing too much. So yeah, it's going to be a very interesting morning to say the least, ladies and gentlemen. Bitcoin seems to be going down a little bit right now. Could be going down. I mean, who knows? But pay attention to USDT. It's starting to spike up. USDT is getting psychological right now. Look at that. All our levels, ladies and gentlemen. The levels are getting ready to be taken, man. It's going to be an interesting story. Psychologically, investors are like, okay, we've come to the same area where we used to buy, we used to sell Bitcoin before. Okay. That right there, we used to sell Bitcoin. Let's sell it. And we've bought some. And let's make some money. That's how the game works. Listen, FOMC tonight. I'll be going live 6:30 UK time, 1:30 Eastern Standard. Make sure you're there because it's going to be a very interesting evening. All right? Hit the like on the way out. Subscribe for tonight's live stream, and I'll be tuning in to you all later. Peace.